So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we got a little drum roll. This is Jared's Twitter takeover. So basically, the main gist of this is I scoured through Twitter and found some big tweets that I think really encapsulate some of the biggest storylines that are going on in the league right now. A lot of them we did end up covering in this episode, so I'm still going to bring them up. It's just our answers will be a bit shorter because it's like, okay, we already discussed that topic. A lot of it has to do with obviously the COVID situations, questions of the Olympics, things along those lines. But whatever, it's basically I just went through Twitter and found some tweets that I think really could spark a conversation, get some interesting feedback from you guys. So without further ado, I'm gonna pull up. I have 5 tweets here, and I really just want to read them out to you guys. I'm gonna read who said them, and I just want to hear you guys' feedback. Again, a lot of them do have to do with things we've already talked about. So in that case, I'm still gonna read them out because I pulled them up. Why not read them out? But just say, okay, we already kind of talked about that in depth, so it's not worth going too in depth on. Without further ado, Jared's Twitter takeover. So the first tweet that I've brought to the table is from Dom at The Athletic. The Twitter at is Dom Lucian. I don't really know how to pronounce the last name. Whatever. Dom Lucian. There we go. Okay. So the tweet is, NHL has to just shut things down at this point. This is getting absolutely ridiculous. Obviously, we talked a lot about that. We talked about the COVID things, what the question marks are surrounding a shutdown. Is that something that's realistically going to happen? I want to hear your guys' thoughts on that. So we're going to start with Adamo on this one.
Yeah. Shut down. That's a little harsh. Restrict things a lot. I'm talking last season, minus the stupid North Division. I say no fans. I say mandate every player double vax, fucking triple vax if you can. Which in Ontario, 18 plus can get their vaccines in next week. So
yeah, I got mine set up.
Oh, really? Nice. My dad just got his. Yeah, I don't think shut it all down. That's a little much, but restrict the fuck out of it.
I'm going to say that on Twitter, the comments did happen to be very negative, with a lot of people kind of sharing the same thing with, yes, restrictions need to be made. However, a lot of people were not in favor of shutdown. So that's kind of why I just wanted to bring it up. Of course, it's something we ended up going not even more in depth than I expected. I knew we were going to talk about it, but I still just thought it was a very interesting tweet that kind of encapsulated a lot of the storylines surrounding this week. So that's why I thought it was kind of an important question to ask. So I guess we're going to turn it over to Evan. Obviously, we did kind of touch on it.
I'll be quick. Look, I think the restrictions are warranted. I just think, it sounds terrible because these are human beings. Sports is a part of life right now, and I think that's the best thing that's going for us, is just being able to sit down for a couple hours and just have your mind focused on something completely different. And I understand the players are also they're human beings. They have their own values and the restrictions suck. But from a fan standpoint, I'm thinking of sports is the best thing that we got for us right now. If it means no fans, I really don't care. I just want to get my mind off something for a few hours.
Oh, I do absolutely agree with that. NHL, not even just NHL, sports in general are such a way to get kind of normalcy back into life. So it would be absolutely horrible if they shut down. That's why it's really tough. But at the end of the day, I mean, you have to kind of consider the human lives that are at risk right now. And as much as, yes, it's not proving to be incredibly deadly because a lot of people are vaccinated, it's still very much a disease that's spreading around like wildfire right now, an infection. And there's definitely some question marks. In my mind, I don't think it's something that you shut it down now. I think it was that tweet was very reactionary to a bunch of teams at the moment had just been announced with COVID cases. So that's why it's a very scary time. I don't think a shutdown right now is the best move, but it's definitely something that needs to be kind of in the back of people's heads in my mind, because it's getting really bad. And Mario, we're obviously going to turn it over to you, the main host of this show.
Yeah, this is unknown waters. I usually ask the questions. I'm on the other side of it, but I will for sure answer this one. I don't know. Me, I want to try to put my hockey brain aside and my fan perspective of it. I think it's best to rip the Band-Aid off as fast as you can. And I get all the reasons you guys are saying. I think they're perfectly logical. I think I just have to bring this side to it, because I can't see 2-3 more teams getting back into a Vancouver situation that we saw last year. I know I already said this back in our other segment when we were discussing it, but I don't want to see that again. I don't want to see more teams like the Carolina Hurricanes, and I believe the other team that got shut down was why am I drawing a blank? It was Carolina and
Nashville had concerns, but like
Calgary,
yeah.
There we go. So like Carolina and Calgary, I don't want to see any more situations like this happening where games are getting disrupted very all around. So I think it's best to maybe in the next week or so see how bad this gets. If it gets to a stage where it's really struggling and you're seeing these cases double within the National Hockey League, I think you got to cut it off, figure out the Olympic situation and as fast as you can, and then try to use that break room. I know it's a really tough situation to put the NHL in. I don't think they were expecting this, but if you want to get a creative mind going, I think this one might be the best bet. Use the time in the winter break, the Olympic break, to regroup these games. I think that might be the best area for them to go.
And very well said there. My one concern with if you shut it down now, when does games start renewing? Because if you remember back to March 2020, we thought it was going to be only a few weeks shutdown, and we didn't end up being back playing hockey until August. So
that's different time, like different
obviously,
scenario.
but I'm just saying that's
principles still do apply.
Example. It's your guys' opinion. I brought it up because I wanted to hear what you guys have to say. It's a very valid point from all of you. It's just very much something I kind of wanted to hear your thoughts on because it's an interesting time right now. The next tweet actually is that Connor McDavid tweet saying, like, I'll read it out, but I don't think we're going to go too in depth because it's very much having to do.
You can just read it out and then just like go.
So the tweet, it's from Joshua Clipperton. It's Connor McDavid tells media in Edmonton the idea of a potential quarantine of 3 to 5 weeks because of a positive COVID-19 test at the Beijing Olympics is quote unquote unsettling. He won't say today if he's out, but if that's the case, or if he's out, if that's the case, #Oilers. So obviously we went very much in depth on that in our Olympic segment. So we won't get too in depth there, but I just very much wanted to read that out in case it wasn't something that was brought out on the podcast, because I think it's really important to kind of what's going on now. And this one is kind of getting away from the COVID stuff. This is more of an interesting one. I actually am really curious what Evan's thoughts are on this one are going to be, because it has to do with an LA King. So this one's from Kyle. The Twitter is KF_Kadri43. So it's from a Leafs fan. If the Leafs want to add a forward, the answer is Adrian Kempe from the LA Kings. The reasons being, he played with William Nylander in Modo, Sweden from 2013 to 2015, and at the World Junior Championship for Sweden. He'd be an ideal left wing, and that would be on a line with Kempe, Nylander, and John Tavares centering it. He currently has a $2 million contract. However, at the end of the 2023 season, he is an RFA. He's on pace for 35 goals. He would be third in hits among forwards in Toronto, so he plays a lot more of a defensive kind of a shutdown style.
I'll let you stop right there. Just take him. I'll let you stop there. Like, I really don't care about his stats. Like, no, like, I don't know if I should be saying, but like nobody in LA likes Adrian Kempe. Like it was so evident. Did you remember when Connor McDavid hit Kempe from behind?
Yeah.
Did you see one Kings player go after Connor McDavid? Like, I don't give a shit if it's Connor McDavid. Did you see any Kings player do anything? Like, out of the four other guys that were on these.
All I saw was Kempe go score a goal the other way.
No, but what I'm saying is, the point I'm trying to make is like, they don't, like, nobody went over to even like say anything to McDavid. Like, if that's not telling, like, if the Leafs want him, then fine. Like, I don't see the Kings re-signing him. He doesn't seem happy in LA. Every time he scores, he looks like he just got scored on. Like, if whatever value we could get for him, like, I really don't care. Whatever value you could get for Kempe, I'm totally fine with that.
Really? So I didn't think you would be that negative. I actually saw that tweet and I thought that's an interesting player.
No, because the Kings don't. Nobody in LA respects him. Like, if they did, they would have fought McDavid. Who the fuck cares that it's Connor McDavid? Like, he hit him from behind and drew blood. Like, you would fight for him.
Okay, yeah, very interesting. I didn't expect that was the reaction you'd get, but I'm curious to see what you guys say. I don't know. When I saw that, I thought that's a very, like, that's the kind
just go
of
on to the next tweet. Go on to
that's the kind of player we'd like to see in Toronto. I don't know. I thought it was a good idea.
Well, I hope someone steps up for him in Toronto.
Briefly, let's hear what Mario and Adamo have to say. The Leafs fans on the podcast. I'm curious.
You take it, Ramoli.
Oh, I'm just looking at his contract right now. I'm trying to pull it up. What's it like? oh man, he's got 1 year after this. It'd be a rental.
Well, he'd be a year and a half. Like if you got him.
No, just a year. Just a year. This is the last year of his contract.
Oh yeah. So then take him.
Yeah.
Por favor.
Depends the price, because it'd be nice. It'd obviously be nice to have him, but like, am I giving up a prospect, like a good one? I'm not giving Topi. I'm not giving Nick Robertson. I'm not giving any of the good prospects.
I would say a third and a mid-level, like a mid prospect, like a third round pick in a mid.
I think you might need a little more than that.
Is that where a Justin Hall trade potentially pops up?
Why would LA do it?
Well, we were saying LA.
Yeah, but I wasn't saying Adrian Kempe. Like he's not just a rag doll.
Guys, we value Justin Hall so much. I think he has negative value at this point. Like, I don't care. He's
definitely
right-handed.
not 1-for-1, but you add some picks there. You add whatever you.
I think you'd have to add the sweetener to take Justin Hall, because he is a negative asset at this point. He is a AHL player making $2 million and just happens to shoot right-handed. So I doubt that. But Adrian Kempe, going back to that, is an interesting topic. I like it. I like the reasons he said. Fuck it. Why not? Why not? If it's at a reasonable price, why not?
Does Kerfoot, sorry to interrupt, Jared, but does Kerfoot play a role in something happening here? Because you were saying he would slot probably under that second line. And I know Kerfoot's been in trade talks before. I would
gladly take Kerfoot.
Is something like Kempe. That brewing? Is a Kerfoot for Kempe 1-for-1 maybe something that's in the works?
I think like Kerfoot in a third. I would definitely.
And do you want to break up something that's decently working on the second line? I don't know.
Kerfoot's been really good for us, so I don't know if that's the move I'd make. Also, I think I'd sooner, because we actually have a lack of left wings. I think that is one position on our team that we are a little bit lacking. So I'd sooner I don't know if Kerfoot's the guy I'd flip there.
I got the answer. I have the answer. The guy that requested a trade, Ilya Mikheyev.
That's interesting.
Now we're brewing.
Not 1-for-1, but
I'm thinking of the lineup. It's Bunting, Matthews, Marner. Sure. Kempe, Tavares, Nylander. Sure. Kerfoot, Kampf, Kasha. Sure. Spezza, Simmons are a lock. And then you have Richie and
I like
his name, Mikheyev.
I like this.
Are you gonna healthy scratch Richie or Mikheyev? It's got to be one of those two.
Look, I like Ilya Mikheyev, but I don't know.
I'd move. Honestly, I'd move Nick Richie. I'm enough of this. I'm gonna be honest, guys. He's not worth it. He's not worth the money, and he's not going to be worth the money because his skill has never been worth the money. You never pay money for grit, and he's not even giving grit. We're paying him 2.5 because he has a big ass.
He's a thick boy.
Seriously, we're paying him 2.5 to screen the goalie.
He's a thick bitch.
That's not ideal. So I'd say move one of those two, and like a Mikko Kaukonen and like a second. Sure, do it.
I saw going back to the Mikheyev one very quickly. If you're gonna maybe flip Mikheyev 1-for-1, and this is pretty hypothetical, but you flip him 1-for-1 for Kempe. Is Mikheyev, where is he playing right now? And are you going to put him on that top line? Are you going to put him on the second line? Because right now he's sitting on the third and fourth. I think he played on the fourth last night, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not too sure. But what's Mikheyev's role now? What do you want him to be? Are you going to make him into a defensive forward, leaving him in that bottom six? Or do you want him to get back to that goal scoring touch that he once had and boost him to the top six? So I think it's up to what you want to do with Mcdavid, because I think if you make that decision pretty quickly, I think you're open to making these kind of trades. And I wouldn't mind a Mcdavid for a Kempe 1-for-1. And you went through the lineup yourself, Adam, and I thought it sounded really pretty lethal, to be quite frank with you.
Yeah. I think Mcdavid probably ends up back as like a third liner, because why would you have, if you have Kempe, or sorry, we're talking no Kempe. We're talking no Kempe, right? So if you want Bunting, Matthews, Marner, Kerfoot, Tavares, Nylander, who do you move? Do you move Kerfoot out, who's played really well there and is objectively a better player offensively than Mikheyev? I don't know where else you put him. I think either you unfortunately have to trade Ilya Mikheyev, or you're a defensive specialist now. And I think that'd work great. Oh fuck, we also forgot about Pierre Engvall. He's probably on the road to LA too, if that trade ever happens. But the third line probably looks like Mikheyev, Kampf, Kasha, and that is lethal defensively, because you have the two big boys in Kampf and Ilya, who are super fast, and then Kasha just seems to have a knack playing with Camp. It's great. He's super creative as well. Charges the net, plays hard. I think that line would actually have some pretty good chemistry.
Yeah, obviously there's a lot of different ways that you could go about a trade like that. I don't know. I didn't necessarily bring it up with a specific, this is the move that I'd have in mind. I thought it was an interesting topic. It wasn't exactly a name that was on my radar for potential things that we could do. So when I saw that tweet kind of come through my feed, I'm like, you know what, this is maybe something that I'll bring up. Like, it's not something, it's purely a hypothetical. It's not something that we have any serious plan or whatever surrounding. But I thought, I don't know, I was curious to see what your guys' thoughts on that would be. Now onto our fourth tweet. Again, there's on this one, there's a bit less really to go in depth. It's just kind of a player that maybe has faced some criticism because of a big contract, and it's kind of defending them a little bit. And it's not the player you think. So this tweet comes from Let's Talk Hockey. The @ is Let's Talk Hockey 9. And the tweet is, John Tavares is on pace to score 38 goals and 90 points. Oh, but please tell me more about how he's regressing and not worth the 11 million. So what are your guys' thoughts on that one? We'll start with the demo.
Yeah, he's I was thinking about this last night, actually. Like, he's proving to still actually be worth it. Like, if John Tavares hits the open market right now on the amount of points that he's playing, how he's playing right now, he probably doesn't get the 8 years or 7 years like he got, but I think he gets the 11 AAV, especially with the salary going up like that. The cap's going up to what, 82.5, I think it's 81 right now, or I know it's going up a mil. So I think, yeah, he probably gets 11, probably not with the term, but 11, 100%. I'd give it to him.
Mario, let's hear from you.
I don't really got a say on, like, I like Tavares, man. I've never had a problem with his contract, really. He's been producing quite nicely this year. That's all I really have to say. Nothing wrong with him. He's doing what he has to do. And I would personally, I'd keep money out of it.
Evan, let's hear from you, and then I'll kind of give my thoughts.
Yeah, I'm gonna I don't know, 11 million is way too much for John Tavares, and that's just because when you look at the value, like when you look at the tiers of how much guys are getting paid, like John Tavares is nowhere near Connor McDavid's level, and he's making 12 million.
That's a bad comparison.
No, but I'm saying in terms of contract,
that's a bad comparison because Connor McDavid signed his contract before, and Connor McDavid has the best contract in the league right now. If Connor McDavid hits the open market with his production, he gets 15 easily.
Well, I don't think they can go. I think there's a cap on how much you can give.
He's worth that amount, is what it is.
I know, yeah. but there's just a cap on like how much you can give a player. Like,
is there?
I believe so. Like, you can't.
We never had that high.
Well, I don't know. Like, I think if they wanted to, they probably could have. But I'm pretty sure like the cap you could give him is like 12 million a year, and that's. But anyway, like regardless of when the contract was signed, I just think I think 11 million is too much. And I'm not saying go down egregiously, but I think it would be around 9.5 because that's still great money. And he's still a great player. Like, it's no disrespect, but look, there's not many guys that are making double digits, like $10 million. And there's a reason. Like, making 9.5 or even 9.75 is not a knock on the guy, but that money then allows you to sign someone else. And when you're trying to think as a leader like John Tavares is, don't you want to like value the idea of winning and grabbing other players rather than like, oh, I want my money and then you go figure it out yourself? Like, I just think 9.5 would be fair if he hit the open market.
Yeah, and obviously
he's 12th in scoring, by the way, in the NHL.
Well, yeah, but so are guys like Mikko Rantanen and Adam Fox and Cale Makar, and they're making $9 million.
Fair. So are guys like Connor McDavid, Alex Ovechkin,
but you just said
Matthews, Artemi Panarin.
But Panarin, those guys aren't making. But that's different though. Those. But what I'm saying is like those are just like one player. When you're the Leafs and you're paying 4 different guys that type of money or 3 different guys that type of money, it's different. You're obviously going to pay your star the most, but you can't pay 3 separate. Like, you can't pay 3 guys like the same.
I agree with you, and I think that guy that's being overpaid right now is Mitch Marner, and I've been pretty vocal about that. I'd rather have 2 William Nylanders than 1 Mitch Marner, and I think everyone agrees. 2 extra William Nylanders, I should say, not just 2. At this point, I probably would, but I think
there's been that debate.
I agree with you. I agree with you in the sense that you probably shouldn't be paying these guys, and I think John Tavares is the guy you pay because that is your captain, because he is still 12th in NHL scoring. and he also took a discount. So he's a nice guy. He left. He was making 30. He could have made 13 in San Jose. So
That's true.
Thank God.
That's a dumpster fire. They don't know how to handle contracts over there.
They don't know how to handle anything.
It's like candy. Nice. Let's do get the final one on the queue, Jerry.
Yeah. Well, overall, just a little bit of a segue there. Just what I want to say, I kind of agree in the sense that yes, he's expensive, and yes, there's concerns with the overall contract construction that is on the Leafs, because of course we're paying a lot of forwards a lot of freaking money. But no, John Tavares, the way he's playing right now, the fact that even aside from his point scoring, he's such a big leader on this team. He hasn't gone far on the playoffs, but he's been in the league for a bunch of years. He's played in the league a bunch of years. He kind of knows how to convey himself in a respectable way. He is such an important player to have on a team that is with a lot of young players. And yes, now at this point, they're kind of aging closer to 25, but he came here when a lot of these guys were in their early 20s. And I think having a guy like John Tavares is such an important thing for a team that's kind of building together as a new core and as young players. I don't know. I heard on Twitter a lot of flack when John Tavares kind of wasn't contributing because he is an expensive player. He is an older player in the league. But no, I love John Tavares. I don't think he deserves the flack. And I think this tweet kind of put it perfectly. He is more than playing up to what his contract is right now. And aside from those points, the fact that he is our leader, the fact that he is our captain, I think he more than earns his $11 million. And as Adamo mentioned, he could have gotten more. He did take a pay cut to be here. So no, I love John Tavares, and I just kind of wanted to bring that up because I thought that was a very interesting one. Now on to our final tweets. This one's actually kind of a two-parter, so I'm going to read out both parts of it, and then I'm going to hear what you guys have to say. So it is about last night's game. It's a little bit irrelevant now that the game's over. Of course, it has to do with Brad Meyer. I'm going to tell you guys that. And it's the fact that a lot of the story heading into the game was, why are we talking about a ref? Well, the fact that we're talking about a ref is pretty concerning. So pretty much just about that. There didn't end up being any major issues throughout the game. It's not much worth discussing, but I'm still going to read it out just because before the game, heading into the game, when I found this tweet, I thought it was a very interesting thing to bring up just because it's pretty concerning how reffing in the NHL is going. So we're going to start it off with Alex. This one's from Alex Hobson. The @ is A Hobson Media. So the initial tweet is, I regret to inform you that Brad Meyer will be officiating tonight's game against the Leafs and Oilers. Then Data Man, or Life of a D-Man, responds to that. This is the stupidest thing about the NHL and the MLB for that matter. As a fan, I should be more worried about opposing players than the fucking officials. I should have no reason to know a referee's name. The fact that we all do shows that the NHL is a very big issue here. Then a response to that I thought was interesting as well from Matt Sundin, or Matt O'Healy, or Hanley, is, in a game that will feature Connor McDavid, Austin Matthews, Leon Draisaitl, William Nylander, etc., we're talking about a fucking ref. Damn right there's a problem, especially if one of these guys get hurt tonight as a result of the game getting out of control. So, of course, nothing really ended up happening in the game that was too worth noting on the reffing department. So, again, it's not worth going into a full analysis on it, but I just wanted to hear you guys' thoughts on that. The fact that we had that game against the Jets not too long ago where a game got completely out of hand, and just the fact that there's a lot of concerns surrounding reffing in the NHL. So I guess we'll start with Mario on this one. I just want to hear briefly what your guys' thoughts are on the talk about that.
I mean, he's not wrong. I think every comment that was said is accurate. Why do you have to worry about the refs when there's a full storyline that you can dive into and make so much noise with as a media writer, as a radio host, et cetera? Why do you have to be talking about Brad Meyer in these situations? And you brought in baseball as well. I've played baseball enough to know you don't want to know. We know when we go to the ballpark, and Damo, and this is unfortunate for you, you're an umpire yourself, so we know who's umpiring the game when we see them approach the game, and we know what we're getting into. It's the wrong thing.
I hated that.
Yeah, it's the wrong mentality to have. It kind of throws you off a bit, and you're going to change. Ironically enough, you're going to change your game a little bit, and it's really unfortunate. So I think those comments are perfectly valid, perfectly accurate, and it's just a shame. I think the NHL, we were discussing this. Jared, you actually went extensively in length about this a couple weeks ago about the reffing and the officiating in the NHL, and quite frankly, other sports in general. And I think it has to be changed. Is that with game reports, press conferences after? We don't know. We have to see what the NHL wants to impose. But definitely all correct comments there. And I gave it the green light as well. There has to be a change. And it is a shame that we have to know who the referee is and their name when there's a perfectly good storyline to write about and discuss.
I mean, it's like Angel Hernandez in the MLB. Like
that's what
exactly like Angel Hernandez, where like pitchers know and batters know and runners know that he doesn't know. Like he has one of the worst like accuracies. Like if for all those stats guys, like if you look at the amount of strikes that he calls that should be balls, I think it was like 25% in a playoff game. And then he used some like bullshit that, oh, like the MLB's racist. So then they had to bring him back. And it's not the fact that the MLB's racist. It's the fact that you suck at your job.
Yeah.
And it's so evident. Like, don't give me that bull crap that like there's discrimination against you. Like you're just not good.
He sucks.
Yeah, there's no discrimination. Like I guarantee you no one would back him up saying that like, oh, the MLB is like, nobody's going to believe that. And it's the same thing, obviously with Brad Meyer, but he's white, but it's the same thing where like, although I don't like, look, I understand, I don't want to like get into it, but I don't feel like the game was as much his fault as it was just the fact that a young player on the Leafs was hurt. You have Wayne Simmons on the team. Like, shit's going to go down. And I think it was just hard for Brad Meyer to contain that game. And there's only one of him, and there's 10 of the 10 skaters that he's competing with that absolutely want to kill each other. So I do give him, it was a little bit hard to control what was going on.
I do agree with you, Evan.
Yeah, like I agree to an extent, but at the same time, you have to consider that this referee has a reputation, and this isn't the first time games have gotten out of hand under his control. And as much as like we talked in length about this when the situation was more relevant, again, it was more, I included it in my list because it's like, what if something happens again? Then it'll be a lot more of a talking point. Of course, nothing really major ended up happening.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, just overall, like I wanted to bring it up because if something happened again, like this guy has a reputation and he's a referee that kind of has been known for not doing enough to put games under his control. He's let games got out of hand. And as a result, a lot of issues have happened with him at the kind of at the helm and reffing. So it's just something that kind of has become a bad habit in the league. And I just think the fact that Brad Meyer's name was a talking point before the game shows a lot of problem with the National Hockey League. Like that is concerning that heading into a game with all these superstar players, we're talking about a referee. And that is concerning. I'd like to see that change. I'd like to see the NHL kind of hold the referees a little bit more accountable. Obviously, that's out of our controls. We're just kind of reporting on things. We're not actually able to control anything. I hope the league kind of recognizes that there's issues with the reffing. But until then, that's all still to be seen. We don't know what's going to happen there. But with that being said, those are the tweets that I brought to the table. I thank you for taking part in Jared's Twitter takeover, the debut of Jared's Twitter takeover. And I think it went very well. I'm very happy with that. And let's let Mario continue on with the show.